Yeah.
All right, everyone. Second here. I gotta turn this down so I don't got an echo of myself in my ears. And as you can see, I blew the budget on that fancy intro, so we've had to make some cutbacks in the newsroom. It was some MS Paint style cutbacks. Just kidding, I got an upgrade. But anyways, moving on, today we're going to be discussing a few different articles here, those of which were requested and one which was not, as I couldn't come up with ideas for news topics today because there was not as many viral topics that were going around on the group today. Just waiting for a few more people to tune in, and then we will dive on into these topics. But anyways, as you can see, I made some changes today. That is what took so long to get going. I had some difficulties with my old scene collection, and I had to start from scratch. But I'm just going to check the Facebook chat comments here and see if there's anything else that has been noticed. Zona says, graphics are so cool. Great job. Thank you. I'd like to thank Google Images for the majority of it. And the rest, the scrolling text and whatnot, was me. But for today's articles, we're going to be looking into a few different things here. I'm just going to move around a few things on my desktop so we can look at those. We're going to be looking at the Cape Breton protests that have been going on. Hi, Megan. And a few different things that also have been going on in the province, and one that was not. And we're also going to be, I decided I'm going to air my dope review for this week on today's episode of NSU News as well. We'll call it filler, just because. I also want to tell you guys to, if you want your messages to display on the screen there, you can go onto my Twitch or onto my YouTube and comment through there instead of Facebook, and your messages will magically appear on the screen. Isn't that cool? But we're going to look at the first one in today's article. As usual, I haven't read any of these articles, and this will be my first time looking into them as well with you guys. I'm just going to move my trademark over so that way it's not in the way of the article, and I might move myself around if I need be as well. Second here, I'm just going to bring myself back up my Facebook chat. So if any of you guys have anything to comment on, you can do so, and I will notice it. Nova Scotia Justice Minister concerned over sex predators released to U.S. And we see a picture here. Looks pretty classic pedo. Not to be enforce stereotypes, but come on. A law enforcement officer leads William Shrubsall through the Niagara Courthouse in Lockport, New York. I'm just going to scroll down here so I can read you guys the article. Might want to grab my glasses. And I'll check the chat before I get into it. Nothing new. All right, moving on. Halifax. Nova Scotia's Justice Minister is expressing concern over a Parole Board of Canada's decision to release a notorious convicted killer and sexual predator back to the United States. Mark Fury said Thursday he will write a letter to his federal counterpart, David Lemit. I cannot do names. If this is your first time watching me, I can't do names. About the release of William Shrubsole, who was declared a dangerous offender in 2001 following violent sexual assaults against women in Halifax. The chief Crown Attorney for Halifax, Paul Craver, has questioned the logic of the parole board's decision, while the former lead police investigator in the case, Tom Martin, called it borderline negligence. So I'm just going to scroll down here. We have to look at the circumstances, said Fury. This individual was determined to be a dangerous offender, and dangerous offenders typically aren't released from custody. The minister said Shrubsole's crimes were horrendous, and he knows from his past experiences as an RCMP officer that victims are re-traumatized by these very circumstances. So I'm going to just scroll this down again and also look over to the chat. Nothing from Facebook right now. Moving on. The majority of these offenses took place in Nova Scotia, and it's important that we speak to the circumstances as best we can, he said. While we realize we have no authority, at the same time, it's important to express the opinions and views that we are seeing and hearing. Shrubsole fractured the skull of one of his victims with a baseball bat during his spree of violence in Nova Scotia during the late 1990s. His record also includes bludgeoning his mother to death with a baseball bat in their New York State home the night before his graduation, a crime committed while he was a juvenile. This guy's fucked up. It was Dino that recommended this article, by the way, you guys. Thank you, Dino. I think I'm saying the name right. The 47-year-old Shrubsole was returned this week to authorities in upstate New York, where he will serve a sentence for sexual abuse, but he could be eligible for parole in 2 years and 4 months for that offense. Fury said, although he routinely writes to federal cabinet ministers on behalf of the province, it's the first time he's written about a parole board decision. The board's ruling was based in part on the belief Shrubsole would face many more years of incarceration in Niagara County, where he jumped bail during trial for sexually abusing a 17-year-old girl in 1996. But in an interview with the Canadian Press this week, Niagara Council District Attorney Caroline see, like, that name was made for me to not be able to understand it. Said that the parole board's move had essentially made Shrubsole our problem. The Parole Board of Canada, oh my God, Canada has declined specific comment about the case, but a spokeswoman said the protection of society is paramount consideration in its decisions. I don't think that it was paramount in their considerations. I don't think that they really considered the protection of society when, like, I don't know. Like it said, like the original decision was based upon the fact that they thought that he was going to be serving a lot more time in the upstate New York, but as it turned out, he's not. So this is just like odd. Like I don't really know where or what to say about this one. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Like they said, the original decision was based upon the fact that they thought he would be serving a lot more time in Niagara County, but it's looking like he's going to serve a lot less time because of it. Um, so this is kind of one of those decisions by the government that was kind of an oopsie, um, as PewDiePie would say. Nova Scotia Justice Minister is concerned. Yes, he would be. He is concerned over this oopsie. I am concerned over this oopsie. Are you guys concerned over this oopsie? Anyways, moving on. Unless you guys have any more comments regarding it, I'm going to sip my coffee and I'm going to bring up the next article here on the screen, make sure that I am rightly positioned for this article, and then I will check the chat. It does look like I am in an alright spot on my screen for this one as well. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee and see what you guys are saying here. If you guys have any thoughts on the last article we discussed, which again was, I'll just bring it back up, was the Justice Minister's concern over William Shrubsole's release. Well, not quite release. He's still going to be serving time, but probably not as much time as if we kept him here. And yeah, anyways, poor decision on our behalf. Definitely. All right. On to dozen swarm minister's office over Cape Breton healthcare concerns. And this is one that probably hits close to home for a lot of you guys, because I do understand that in NSU, where this is where my stream is based out of, in case anyone's watching me on any of my other platforms. We're a Nova Scotia based group, and a lot of us in the group are probably from said Cape Breton. So if you guys have any thoughts throughout this article, please comment them and I will respond. Dozens swarm minister's office in Cape Breton over health care concerns. People in the hall outside chanted, "Hey, hey, ho, ho, Jeff McLaren's got to go and let us in." This was updated, it says 3 hours ago. If I refresh the page, I bet you it says longer, because this was up on my screen for a while. While I was getting my stream ready. So I'm going to refresh this and see if there's any more updates on this while we're reading. So yeah, it just says 7 hours ago. Yeah, so it's been a while since I've had this open. All right, Glace Bay's MLA Jeff McLean, is it McLean? And Sydney Whitney Pierre MLA Derek. What's with the names? Are showing meeting with protesters Friday in McLean's, whatever the hell his name is, office. More than 100 people were at the protest, says CBC News. By the way, CBC is normally pretty overly liberal for my taste, so we're going to see how this article goes. But moving along, more than 100 angry Cape Bretoners tried to occupy the office of MLA for Glace Bay on Friday. They said they wanted Jeff McLean and the Liberal government to hear their protests over the state of healthcare on the island. Cape Breton regional police were on hand to control the flow of protesters at McLean's door. Becky Anthony, a retired paramedic, was at the scene. I hate how spread out their articles are. Mind you, I zoomed in a bit to make it bigger for the screen, but still. But that must be her. A retired paramedic gets emotional as she describes her son's healthcare problems to Glace Bay MLA. So yeah. got heated. Scrolling down. Inside McLean's office, she got emotional as she spoke about fears for her son's health. In quotes, he has severe congenital heart disease and has had multiple heart surgeries, 2 strokes, kidney failure, and a problem with his liver. And every single day I send him out the door to school. I am terrified if something happens to him at school, we will not get emergency care in time, and that's not fair. She said through tears. And I agree that's not fair. Second here. MLA Derek, I can't say that last name, was also on hand as people in the hall outside chanted. We already went over that in the beginning. Others remained outside the building on Commercial Street waving flags and holding signs, drawing plenty of honks from traffic. One woman had her Cape Breton flag mounted upside down as she said it's an international symbol for distress. Other protesters demanded McLaren leave the Liberal caucus and crossed the floor, saying government is not listening to the concerns of Cape Bretoners. They are opposed to the government's plan to close community hospitals in New Waterford and North Sydney. Yeah, like they have lots of healthcare concerns there. Like they don't have many hospitals to begin with. What are they doing shutting down any of them? Like if anything, they should open more of them. Michael Nickerson of the International Union. I'm not going to read that. I'm going to get back to the article. The government says it plans to replace the facilities with long-term care homes and clinical services while expanding emergency rooms at Glace Bay Hospital and Cape Breton Regional Hospital in Sydney. So that makes for a longer emergency commutes. That's not good. The day you guys just walked in here last June and announced the closures of Northside General and the New Waterford Consolidated. You, as the local MLA and Mr. Momborkat, I'm not going to try to pronounce that again. As the MLA, you sat there, said Gordy MacDonald, president of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Postal Workers Breton Local. Whoa, that's a mouthful. He sat there with his head down. I jumped way down, back up there. He sat there with his head down. You sat there wondering where you were at. And you both got up and followed your boss out of the room while there was hundreds of people waiting for answers. And you done nothing since. I think I lost context there or something. I don't know. Maybe I read it funny. McLaren and Mamba let protesters in a handful at a time, which made the protesters angrier. They said they had a right to occupy the MLA's office. McLaren told people the government's plan was to close 2 hospitals and expand 2 others to help attract doctors. He said he heard people's concerns over healthcare every day. What we announced in the summer in respects to healthcare facilities, I support that plan 100%, McLaren said. But yeah, by the sounds of it, they shouldn't be shutting down these hospitals at all. And this is honestly a big concern. Like if I lived up there, I would be concerned because that means like if you live in those surrounding areas where they're shutting down those hospitals, and that means that the emergency time to go to the other hospitals, like you're going to look at a longer wait time, whether they expand it or not. Like I don't care what they're saying. And if they're looking at long term, are they just going to let more people die in the meantime? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, I'm going to wait and see if hopefully you guys got a bit of thoughts on this one. Because this one is kind of like, I don't understand why they would be shutting down these hospitals. They said it's going to try to attract more doctors, but that doesn't make any sense. Long-term care facilities are not emergency rooms. How's that going to help somebody in need of emergency assistance? And like, the mortality rate in Cape Breton is already like shockingly high to begin with. So it doesn't really make a lick of sense to me as to what they are doing there. But I'm going to go back and we're going to look at the go back to the newsroom here for a minute. Get off of my desktop. And we're going to play the dope review next. That's what we'll do. If any of you guys have any thoughts over the last couple of articles, I highly encourage you to comment and join into the discussion. Don't mind me, I'm not baked enough. And just kind of join in, as tonight we don't have big viral topics to grasp onto, so it's a little bit less entertaining, I feel. But I'm trying. But anyways, without further ado, let's go to this week's. Hi everyone, it's Queen Mariah here with another video, and this time I'm again doing things a little bit differently, as I'm doing this in my streaming software. Fun! This will not be live streamed. I'm just using the software because I thought it would be a little bit more entertaining for those who don't watch my live streams to be able to enjoy my heightened audio quality and my fancy, amazing green screen. Anyways, today we are going over White Light, which is from Haven Street. And this one, considering it's a Haven Street brand, I had high expectations for. Didn't quite live up to them. But I will go over that a little bit more as we progress. Right off the bat, I was normally a fan of Haven Street's packaging on their singles, as there were these nice, neat little containers. Now we're getting into 3.5 grams, and they upped the container size to the point that this could easily hold 10 or more. I'd like to halfway challenge to say, with how dry and dense this stuff comes in, you could probably fit a half of an ounce in this thing. When we open it up, as you can see, this has been opened. I will post a video here of me opening it up and putting it on the scale, so that way you guys know I didn't tamper with it. It looks alright, and smells really fruity. It doesn't actually smell like weed. It smells like pollen and peaches or something. I don't know. It does not smell like weed. It smells very delicious, and it tastes the same. But I did not find it to have that same Haven Street taste profile and quality that I went for. It kind of had that homegrown-y bite to it and resin on my lips. So, not a fan of that. It came super dry. This was a brand new product, I might add, as they just got it into our local NSLC, and it was packaged on December the 14th, 2018. Don't want to be the person to make that horrible joke, but this was packaged last year. I know that was only about a month ago, but still, if this was a brand new product, I've seen products come across the counter that were not in the package longer than a week, and they were perfect. This is dry. It's just dry. You don't use the right buster, and it just turns to powder. It's harsh for what it is. It does have a high terp count, 5% on the THC terps, and 13.61% overall THC content, which does lead you to believe, wow, that's low, but it has a 0.8% CBD content, which, if you do know CBD, it sounds low, but it's not. It actually does give you a nice mellow kind of high, but not what I was going for when I went for the enhanced sativa side of the shelf. Definitely has the sativa-y profile and smell and yada yada, but considering that this came from St. Haven Street, I paid $40 or so for this eighth. I was expecting a little bit better. Sorry to say that, but if I'm spending that much money and I'm buying it from a brand that I have known to have good quality, I expect it to be upkept, and they just really didn't deliver on this one. It is still, that being said, good weed, don't get me wrong, but for the price, I feel like I should have just bought something else. But anyways, in the spirit of trying to keep these shorter and a lot more sweet, this has been Queen Mariah. Remember to like if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it if you want a chance to catch one of my next live streams, or head on over to my Twitch at Queen Mariah or Periscope, yada yada yada. I got more than one platform in which I like to express myself. This has again been Queen Mariah with another dope review. Thank you for tuning in, and bye. All right. So that was this week's dope review. I thought that I would incorporate that into the stream. If you want to watch just that specific clip again, it will be re-uploaded to my YouTube as per usual for all of my reviews. But going back to this week's articles, we got one left, and the only reason I'm even covering this is because you guys have been posting it. I've been seeing it a lot in NSU, and some of the responses have kind of been upsetting to me. Normally I'm pretty chill when it comes to things, but some of these have been like rather upsetting to me. Some of the responses I've seen to this, and I'm not going to discuss the responses. I'm just going to go over the article and see what you guys think of it yourselves. Like, if you're watching this after it's live and it's been posted up and left, please do weigh in your thoughts still, as this does kind of hit a little bit closer to home for me. And again, I don't like some of the responses I've been seeing. So I'm giving my 2 cents on the whole article. But here we are. You guys have probably seen it going in the ticker at the top of the screen. And here we are to this article now. Mind you, I am not a big supporter of reading from articles that are like from something called Pink News. Or Pink News. I don't know if I'm pointing the right way or not. It's ass backwards to what I'm seeing and stuff. Anyways, I'm gonna get into this article and read it over with you guys. And this is the specific article that has been shared. Japan Supreme Court rules transgender people still have to get sterilized. So that's been their way. Don't necessarily agree with it, but let's read it. The Supreme Court of Japan has upheld a law which forces transgender people to get sterilized. By the way, that misspelling is bugging me because they didn't spell that right. They did not spell sterilized right. Before they can legally change their gender. The panel of 4 justices ruled unanimously on Thursday, January 24th, to reject an appeal filled by Not even going to try to pronounce that name. A trans man who wants to change the gender on his official documents. Australian outlet SBS News has reported. Uzi, or Ussi, or UC, or whatever the hell that name is, I cannot pronounce it, was trying to overturn Law 111, which requires any person seeking to change their legal gender to have no reproductive glands or reproductive glands that have permanently lost function. So that's a rather specific quotation there. The essential thing should not be whether you have had an operation or not, but how you want to live as an individual. I do agree with that. I don't know why people focus on genitals so specifically, but I do agree with that part of it big time, because, yeah, like it's ain't nobody's business. Trans people have had have to possess, oh my god, I'm dyslexic tonight, a body which appears to have parts that resemble the genital organs of the opposite gender, according to the 2003 law, which was ruled constitutional by the Supreme Court judges. Uzi, whose legal companion is now over, responded to the whose legal campaign is now over, responded to the ruling by saying the essential thing should not be whether you have had an operation or not, but how you want to live as an individual. Like I had already said, I agree with it. In their decision, Supreme Court of Japan judge explains transgender ruling. In their decision, the justices said that Law 111, prevented problems in relationships between partners and children, which could result in confusion and abrupt changes across Japan's society. So they're what? They offered a sliver of encouragement to trans activists by saying that the legislation was invasive and should be reviewed regularly as cultural attitudes shift over time. So it's about cultural attitudes. This does not make sense. If you got this does not make sense. Presiding justice, I'm not going to pronounce that name either, and other justice who also wrote an additional opinion in which they said doubts are undeniably emerging about Law 111. By the sounds of it, because if they had a campaign against it, I would say that there would be doubts. Suffering related to gender felt by people with gender identity disorder and is also the problem of society as a whole, which should encompass the diversity of sexual identity, they wrote. This is like a very broad topic. They're getting like kind of vague in where they're, I don't know, I just feel like they're jumping around with their quotes and getting like more into a political side of it, when really they should be focusing on the science, like, and the sociological side of it instead of, I don't know. That's my opinion. Like, this article, I'm not a big fan of this article, but I do agree with their side of things. But they're definitely trying to pander to certain things when really, like, I don't know. Like, when it comes to having an operation, I'm also a person that believes in at least having to go hormone replacement therapy to be able to be saying that you're transitioning. You can't just like go out and magically just say like the next day like, oh, I'm transitioning. Like, you have to put some effort into it. But this is like the extreme of effort that Japan expects you. Japan expects you to get full of the surgery and everything, and like it looks like they're focusing mainly on part that you can't have reproductive organs. Like you like it's not like it's to me that's just weird. It's like they're focusing on the fact of sterilization, or at least that's the way that Pink News presents it to us. Again, noting on the publication that I'm getting this information from and my doubt in the overall publication. Again, I am just stating the fact that I don't normally get my sources from places like Pink News. Last year, the Japanese government announced that they would subsidize gender-affirming surgery for trans people as long as they are not receiving hormone treatment or do not have any pre-existing conditions. Now, you see, it doesn't make any sense, because if you were getting yourself the affirming surgery, like, why? See, like, I wouldn't want the surgery without the hormones first, because the hormones make you get the rest of the body shape to match. So that doesn't make sense. They just want you to cut your shit off, I guess, by the sounds of it. Or there's also the medical side of it that, like hormone blockers, like testosterone blockers, are diuretic, and estrogen can thin your blood. So, like, there's like, if I was to go get any surgery, I am supposed to stop my hormones for a period of time. So maybe that's their concern. Maybe Pink News is just spinning it. But I do see that we do have some conversations here. Ernie says, sounds like girly needs a good hookup. Me or different girly? Jesus. Once the surgery is covered by public insurance in Japan, a patient will only need to pay up to 30% of the total surgery expenses. See, I'm fine with that. But like, I just don't get the fact that you need, in Japan, they're making it so you need to get a surgery to change your gender marker, and their main ruling in this is to not be able to reproduce, by the sounds of it. Not so much the fact that you need to match, like, although that may just be the way that Pink News is spinning it to us, because we are on a really shitty news publication right now, people. Applicants are required to be sterile, single, without children, under 20, and undergo psychiatric evaluation. See, some next level shit. So this is the part that I don't get. Without children. So if you, like, if I want to have a kid someday, can't be in Japan. Usually known as second. But yeah, I do understand the psychiatric evaluation. That's required here. That's required. That's understandable that it is required. I agree with that. But I don't agree with the fact that you need to be sterilized. Wait, are required to be sterile. So okay, so did they jump? Okay. Still need to face a number. So to get gender confirming surgery, Pink News says that you already need to have gender confirming surgery. I hate this publication. What the hell am I reading? But yeah. I wish I found a better article about this topic, but this is the one that has been shared in the group, so I figured that I would address it. And this is just like, did anybody who shared that, did anyone actually happen to read this article? Like, did anyone actually read it before they shared it? I'm just curious, because like, I'm reading this and it is just like junkly written. I'm a horrible reader. But anyways, I don't agree with Japan's stance on this. You guys probably would have already guessed that. Going back to my screen here, my news screen, so I don't have this up here, so you guys don't have to look at big chungas. But yes. just going to see if any of you guys have any any input on our last few articles. If anybody wants me to review anything, or if anybody wants to discuss anything outside of the topic matters that we've discussed so far tonight, feel free to do so. We can partake in a bit of discussion if you want, or if not, I can go pee and hit my bong and play some video games, which also sounds good, because tonight we don't have a bunch of interesting viral topics, which we usually do. So it's a little less entertaining. I can try to be entertaining for you guys, but I don't feel like I have it tonight. I don't feel like I have your guys' full undivided attention like I normally do. But I'll leave it open for discussion if you guys want. So you guys can, if you have anything that you would like to discuss, now's the time. If not, I got to pee. Let's switch back to the old cutbacks one. I like this newsroom. I almost should have stayed with this newsroom. Unfortunately, I missed Stan says, unfortunately, I missed the first 40 minutes, so I scrolled back to 8 minutes to watch. All right, so far, Stan, we have covered the Cape Breton Regional Hospitals being shut down. We've covered the Japanese gender-affirming surgery being needed, basically them focusing on the sterilization aspect of it to be able to change your gender identity marker legally, and also the sex predator being released, William something, I can't remember his full name, but those are what we've covered today. If you are still tuning in, unless you've already jumped back to check out the older topics, in which case you missed what I just said. I'm going to sip some of my coffee. East Coasters always chant, "Hey, hey, ho, ho." That is too funny, Ernie, and too true. Let's see what else we got here. But yeah, just gonna let this go probably for the next few minutes or so that way you guys can try to bring up any topic matters if you have anything else that I didn't discuss that's been a popular topic in the group or outside of the group, preferably outside of the groups where I am broadcasting on other outlets as well tonight, not just in the group. And that's why we got the restream there. If you got, or wait, there. And if you want to comment, you can go over to my Twitch stream or over to my YouTube. Also on Periscope, but I doubt anybody in the Facebook group is familiar with that aside from the lovely lady that told me about it. But if there's nothing else, I really do need to pee. I'm not making that up. I do need to pee, you guys. So, like, can I go? Or is there anything else that we need to discuss tonight? U.S. government going back to work for a few days to probably be shut down again. That is actually a pretty good topic. I'm going to look up and see if I can find an article on that. Or we can just discuss it. Because I don't feel like looking up an article and I still need to pee. But yeah, I do kind of agree because I seen, by the way, Sheena, is that how you say your name? I am sorry if I mispronounced that, is the one who noted that. And yeah, I do agree that they'll probably be shut down again in a few days, especially where they didn't, they reached this agreement without money for the wall. So as much as I used to be a fan and I am still a supporter of the wall because a country's defenses. Yeah, I don't feel like going into my reasoning right now, as that's not the topic at hand. But yeah, I do agree that they'll probably end up just getting shut down again. And this is, I will note, about the only promise that that man did make that he didn't deliver on, although he has lied about quite a few other things, and went behind certain groups' backs to after using one of our public figures to get votes to take us out of a paycheck through military. So yeah, I do not agree with that. But that's also a tangent. But yeah, I do agree that the government shut down. The agreement that they reached, that will probably fall through, and they will probably shut down again. I can't see that being a long-lasting thing. Then again, I haven't looked anything up more than seeing that Andrew Reid shared it. So maybe what I can do is I can go in the group and look at that one. That's what we'll do. We'll go in the group and we'll check out Andrew's article. I'm being a trooper right now because my bladder feels like it's going to explode. Should go back to the expensive newsroom now, so I don't look as broke. All right, where are you, Andrew? Oh, excuse me. Just on my Facebook now, bringing up the article. You guys can probably see the reflection in my glasses. Well, that's hard to say. And you keep seeing me look over there. It's because I have a monitor over there, and that's like where I got everything to keep track of the stream and whatnot on. That's why I look that way a lot. If anybody is curious as to why. Oh, come on, Mr. Reed. I'm going to set down this microphone. Oh, good Lord. We have a shirtless selfie in the group. I can't live stream that, though. It's too bad that we're streaming in other groups right now. Otherwise, that would be the topic. Oh, God. I want to troll so bad. But I'm busy with this. Anybody want to check out the group wall right now? There's something to troll. I might be the last horse crossing the finish line because I've been busy since it's been posted. All right. No, Andrew shared something else. Unless I clicked the wrong goddamn article. I clicked the wrong... No. What the heck? All right. I'm upset. I click, and it brings up something else. This is some clickbaity bullshit. I'm going to show you guys this. All right? Look at this. All right? Watch this. All right? I click. And it's going to bring up... It's not going to be the article that we thought it was. It's incredibly slow because we're watching it now. Yeah, world leaders back. Like, Trump announces deal to end shutdown without money for wall. And I click. World leaders back won over Venezuela. When did Venezuela become the United States? What the fuck? But anyways, that's a bit of a flop. Wah. Cut back. But yeah, that didn't work out. So looks like we're not going to be reading that article tonight. That didn't work too well. But anyways, you guys, I'm just going to check the chat one more time, and then I'm probably out so I can go pee. All right. I don't see anything in the chat necessarily. So, but also knowing that this is delayed, I am probably going to have to wait a couple seconds at least, because it doesn't look like the live stream's even to the point where I said that I'm going to check the chat. But anyways, well, at least on the Facebook one. I know the other ones are up to date. Just getting ready to sign off here. This has been Queen Mariah with another NSU News. This time it has been very, very, very boring episode on my behalf, mainly because we don't have lots of clickbaity articles. God damn you, Andrew Reid, for the redirect. And remember to check out my YouTube channel, and please, because I only have one more day to reach my goal of 200 subscribers, and I need 50. So